Ava storms off with Elm chasing after her, but she's unfamiliar with the city and gets lost fairly easily. When she finally stops, Elm sits down with her and tells her that her parents did the best that they could with the information that they have, and that Ava now has a top-notch education from prison, which is wonderful. I'm sure that thoughts of how good her education was will keep her warm while she's unable to sleep at night because of her PTSD nightmares. Hello and welcome to Precontation Points Video Snark. If you came here because you thought that this was an audiobook, please stick around and maybe learn some reading and listening comprehension skills. I read books, discuss what went wrong, and how they can possibly be fixed. I'm continuing my read-through of The Color Theory series by Ashley Bustamante. Not the first video, go check out the others, links are posted below. Chapter 21. As you can imagine, Ava runs towards her parents, but when she gets there, here comes the doubt, because literally all of her life, Ava has been gaslit and manipulated by those around her. Of course, she wants to know if this is real, if this is some kind of trick. Eventually, Mr. Locke says that they should go talk at their home. Elm agrees to go with them, if only for Ava's sake. In their apartment, they tell Ava that they faked their own deaths using yellow magic, that it was never intended for Ava to witness. They say that they left her behind because they knew that Celine intended to use her as a tool. And this is where Ava reaches her tipping point. Because of the choices that were made, Ava ended up being groomed and manipulated and neglected her entire life. She has anxiety and trauma and likely PTSD because of all of that. But at the same time, even if the Locks had taken their daughter with them, I feel like the wrong choice would have been made. A real catch-22, if you will. And I'm not saying that they made the right or wrong decision in regards to Ava, only that as Mr. Locke describes the horrible situation that all of the mentalists were in, at no point do I hear them talk about stuff like, we should have tried to leave sooner. The idea that if they decided to leave sooner, then maybe the three of them could have been a family is completely and utterly absent from this conversation. Ava storms off with Elm chasing after her, but she's unfamiliar with the city and gets lost fairly easily. When she finally stops, Elm sits down with her and tells her that her parents did the best that they could with the information that they have, and that Ava now has a top-notch education from prison, which is wonderful. I'm sure that thoughts of how good her education was will keep her warm while she's unable to sleep at night because of her PTSD nightmares. It's then that Elm reminds her that a lot of mentalists lost their lives in Celine's Yellow genocide, and Ava feels bad about the entire thing since his parents are now dead. She tries to lighten the mood and asks him about his parents, Delia and Andres. Yes, those are the same ones from Celine's memories. He tells her that Ridley was Delia's surname, and the only reason why he has it is because of a joke between the two of them. Despite the fact that Ava was never shown seeing memories of Delia and Andres' parents, she tells Elm that they loved him immensely. Elm goes on to say that Ava has been given a wonderful gift, and she agrees. That things in the past can no longer be changed, but she shouldn't squander the return of her parents simply because she's upset at the way that things played out. She starts to talk about all of the what-ifs, but Elm tells her not to go there. She agrees, and then they go back. The three Locks then apologize over what happened a moment earlier and agree that they should move forward. Mrs. Locke asks who Elm is to Ava, and then they kind of laugh over the idea that Ava is bringing her boyfriend to meet her parents. The narration glosses over them catching up with what's been going on inside Magnus. They know about the rebellion that's been going on, but not about anything leading up to that. Mr. Locke explains that it was last November when the barrier was able to be breached by sending jolts of magic through it. Ava is surprised since this was around the time that Elm escaped his 10-year captivity. They explain Elm's role in powering the barrier, which surprises the parents some. However, they know that there must be at least one other mentalist still inside, Jace. Simply hearing his name makes Mr. Locke angry, but Ava is convinced that there must be more than Jace powering the barrier. When her parents ask about how it is that they escaped, Ava suddenly remembers white magic. Mrs. Locke asks with some confusion why Ava never learned about it in school, but then Mr. Locke is quick to remind her, how could she have? Yellow magic was made illegal. Ava eagerly asks if her parents have any books or something on the subject, happy to know that the concept of white magic isn't nearly half as lost as she'd feared. Mrs. Locke says that the theory behind it is quite simple, but it's the act of getting at least 3 people all on the same page to perform it that can be quite difficult. I'm not quite sure that I followed that, but Ava seems to think that this is the missing ingredient. She then realizes how tired she is, and her mother seems to notice this around the same time. Mrs. Locke suggests that Ava can take the pull-out sofa bed, but Ava says no, that she should go back and be with the others from her group for now. Mrs. Locke seems upset to hear this, but lets Ava go. Chapter 22. Later, Ava goes to Sammy's apartment after getting the address from Maribel. Elm goes to the door with her, but Ava tells him that this is something that she needs to do alone, so he says that he'll be lurking nearby. Sammy isn't exactly thrilled to see Ava, but invites her in and to take a seat regardless. Once seated on a beanbag chair, Ava explains that she felt weirdly jealous when Sammy showed up and talked about this old relationship with Elm. She also explains that she's still struggling with her anti-yellow conditioning. The other woman is quick to point out that it's not like Ava has much to fear from Sammy since it's it's obvious to anybody with eyes that Elm is over the moon about Ava. Sammy gets upset at the thought that if she'd simply found Elm sooner, and it's kind of weird how quickly Elm fell for Ava. Ava tries not to get angry at Sammy's words and reminds herself to actually stay on task. She says that it's thanks to Sammy that they aren't all in prison, not only in Magnus, but also with the benefactors. As Ava gets up to go, Sammy asks if Ava isn't going to warn her to stay away from Elm. Ava says that no, that she trusts Elm, but she does warn Sammy that her bad attitude will chase Elm away unless she changes. And I have to say, well done. I don't think that I've ever read so many positive interactions in novels about characters who don't like each other sitting down and having a healthy conversation about their feelings. After leaving Sammy's apartment, Ava quickly finds Elm. She confesses that Sammy doesn't like her much, but Elm encourages her to give Sammy time, which I'm not sure that it's time that's the problem here. I think that Sammy will always view Ava as the girl who stole my preschool boyfriend. They join up with the others, who are having fun in a park with some mentalist students. Ava is sickened when she realizes that a mentalist is controlling Gemma and then Bree with the hula hoop. The only thing she can think about as she watches her friends is Celine's memories of being bullied by her mentalist classmates, the way that they'd use their powers to bend Celine's limbs in unnatural ways. Ava then screams at them to stop, which makes things really weird for everybody. Ava turns to Elm and says that she's pretty sure that Celine's memories are still bouncing around too strongly in her head. He suggests that they should seek medical care for her and that it wouldn't hurt to ask around. So they go talk to Mirabelle to find out if there are any healers around. Mirabelle agrees and says that both Trish and Hazel want to help out first thing that morning. At the hospital, the two of them are reunited with Dr. Iris and Dr. Thompson, but are also introduced to a local healer, Dr. Root. After explaining what's going on to them, Dr. Root kind of implies that it's sort of Ava's fault for doing things that she shouldn't have been, but then goes on to say that they might be able to heal scrapes and such, but can't tend to things that they can't physically see, so no healing stuff like anxiety or PTSD. This is obviously not the answer Ava was looking for, so she turns to Dr. Thompson and asks how traditional medicine deals with stuff like this. Hazel briefly glosses over the concept of therapy, but also explains that it's on a case-by-case basis. But she isn't sure how to help somebody get over having accidentally shared memories and feelings with an evil person via magic gone wrong. Elm is quick to assure her that they'll figure out how to get through all of this together. Chapter 23. It's Elm's birthday, November 30th, if anybody cares, and Elm wanted to go see a mentalist show with Ava. Nikki and Blake tag along, although the idea of being around so many mentalists is clearly making Blake uneasy. Ava is a little confused when they take their seats because the theater is really big, but the stage seems so small. When the curtains open, the stage isn't that much bigger either. Then the show begins, which is about the discovery of Magnus. When you watch a play, you sit in your seats and let people tell you a story. Most people are usually fairly aware that they're watching a play and have to suspend some measure of disbelief. Of course there's brownies on the plate, and of course the characters are eating them. But when the mentalist show begins, they're literally transported onto a boat in the middle of the ocean. The audience steps out onto the sandy shores of this island where they interact with the things around them thanks to the help of the stage crew. The actual storyline is largely glossed over for the sake of the actual plot, but when it's over, all four of them are completely awestruck by what they've experienced, especially Blake, who now seems to be softening towards the idea of mentalists and what they can do. As they pick up their things to go, Ava asks Nikki and Blake if they want to join the two of them for dinner. Nikki says that she can't, that she has to go do more interviews with Ivan. Ava explains to the readers that Ivan has been seeing each of the group individually to try and get as much information as he can from them, but he's on round 2 and the group is beyond fed up with the entire thing. Nikki seems kind of weird about the entire thing and then says that Ivan offered her a job to help fix the infrastructure of the city, but that she's still thinking about this offer. As Nikki leaves, Ava tries to convince Blake to eat with them, but it's obvious he doesn't want to be a third wheel and he's quick to leave as well. Ava enjoys the dinner with Elm, pondering over how it wasn't that long ago that they were all squatting in a cave. However, her good mood quickly sours when Elm says that Sammy recommended this restaurant. Ava hasn't seen or heard from the girl since the day Ava went to Sammy's apartment and now feels weird about the entire thing. When Ava brings up why Sammy isn't there, Elm says that Sammy promised to spoil him tomorrow. This only makes Ava feel even worse. Elm seems to sense Ava's upset and tells her that Ava put the ball into Sammy's court. What happens now is up to Sammy. This is interrupted by some girls coming to the table and wanting Elm's autograph. Even Ava is floored by how ridiculous that this is. Instead of physically grabbing the pen and signing his name, Elm uses his powers to levitate the pen and to make an indecipherable scribble in the notebook. The girls are baffled by his behavior and quickly leave. Elm only laughs over the entire thing. Ava then takes the interruption to give him his birthday present, although he insists that the theater tickets were enough. She gives him a photograph of himself with the frame that says "Wanted for being awesome" on it, and then explains to him that the idea of him being a wanted criminal was wrong to start with, which, well, duh. Elm was literally a child who was being held prisoner for a decade. Elm is so pleased with this present that he kisses her. Chapter 24. Later, Ava takes a trip with her parents to visit the ocean. As they look out over the water, they see dolphins, which Ava has naturally never seen before. There's also an offhanded comment that whenever people try to approach the island from literally anywhere else, mysterious things happen to them and they never make it. Some say that it's the island itself doing it, which I suppose makes sense considering that it's supposed to be the Bermuda Triangle. Mrs. Locke mentions that they had a meeting with Ivan earlier. He's been bugging them about what the group needs, and since Ava insists that they're fine, I guess he decided to bug Ava's parents instead. The only thing Ava can think of is that the group wants to continue to explore magic on their own, which Mr. and Mrs. Locke are already on top of. They produce a key and tell her that it's for the school gym not too far from where the group now live, that they can use the gym whenever it's empty. Ava leaves her parents because she has another meeting with Ivan. As she gets to the building, she runs into Kato as he's leaving. He says that Ivan offered him an amazing job as an engineer, which he promised to consider before he left. But right now he explains to Ava that there's more going on than simply being offered a really nice job. His family is still under the dome, and he doesn't think that he can sit in comfort while he knows that his parents are basically being mistreated. As Ava sits across from Ivan, she can't help but think about all of the meetings she's had with Celine. And even though she knows that Ivan isn't exactly the same, there's still those weird vibes she gets from him. And I'm going to call it now. Ivan is going to turn out to be the opposite side of the same coin as Celine. That he's doing things that he feels is right, but are actually morally wrong. She thanks him for the key to the school gym, however. He says that it's a shame that none of them want to attend Neoprism's school, but understand that they've been traumatized about attending school in the future. But letting out the gym once in a while seems like a small price to pay to encourage self-study. He goes on to say that he wants some more current information on Celine, that he'd heard that she'd gotten into Celine's dreams and wants her to do it again. Ava immediately and firmly tells him no. Ivan counters by telling her that they could train her to make sure that she doesn't get hurt the next time that she goes spelunking into Celine's mind again, but Ava is quick to tell him that she's still suffering the after effects of her first time. He's obsessed, always watching to stay one step ahead of what's happening behind the barrier, all to protect what he has because he knows it's fragile. He knows it could all crumble at any moment. All of this is sad, but yet Ivan won't actually do anything to ensure the continued safety of Neoprism. He's trying to trap the refugees by offering them lucrative jobs, but he won't help raise up any sort of fighting force to take down Celine once and for all. Later, Ava complains to her friends that Ivan offered her a nice-sounding job, which she immediately turned down. Elm can relate to this since he also won't accept anything until all of this is put to rest, which makes sense considering that he's the one who's been the most impacted by everything. If we're all happy here, there's less chance that we'll want to go back, and if we don't want to go back, there's less chance of something messing up his utopia. The problem with inviting people into the Emerald City is that they're people who haven't viewed the world through emerald-tinted glasses their entire lives, especially Ava and Elm, who've been the most impacted by the actions of Magnus. They don't see the utopia like Ivan wants them to see. They see another trap, a man with motives that aren't meshing with theirs. Nikki says that she likes it in Neoprism. The thought that her friend is about to bail on them is upsetting to Ava, despite knowing that some of their group would likely leave once they get to this stage. Nikki is quick to assure them that she's not going to abandon the group, but she'd like to try and come back to Neoprism once this is all over. As they settle into their dinners, Ava worries that the butterflies track them leaving the dome, that Celine has already figured out how to get benefactors out without turning the dome off, and that she'll soon march for Neoprism. Thanks for listening to my Book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because I sometimes drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to help me out. The first is watching this video as well as all my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all of your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book snarks, always free and updated every morning. The only edit to Patreon is to become a member without paying. You'll get access to the same things on Tumblr, but on Patreon. Supporters can have access to so many more book snarks starting at $1 a month. Also new is a 1-week free Patreon trail, so be sure to check that out. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. Also, a huge shout out to Bunker Bash for making a sizable one-time donation. Thanks! If you want to hear your name in my video next week, either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my snark so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $6 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well, just $10 per chapter. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of spicy short stories and 2 full-length novels. I also frequently run flash sales on my stories, and if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you can know when I might be offering things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys!